Hello and welcome to another Your Partnerships Meets. I have Mark with me here from MT, which is going to explain exactly what all that is. But yeah, you've not been out to the studio before either, have you?
No, I haven't. No, first
Yeah,
time.
and what would you say in principle already about the studio?
Very, very nice, very smart, easy to find as well, which is
Good.
a big
It
advantage.
doesn't feel like you're going the right place the last mile.
Correct.
But yeah, it is easy.
Yeah, no.
So I've known Mark for a little while now, and ready to for you to all learn more about his business because it's quite interesting. I don't think many people have heard exactly this product before, but I know you want to talk a little bit about your journey, so to speak.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to explain that the reason how I got to this point. I suppose I've been in the security industry for just over 20 years. I've been working for companies in a sort of a stable position where you earn a salary at the end of each month, and was heading towards retirement for that. And I got to a stage where I suddenly thought there's a product that we came across some years ago with one of the companies I was working for that seems to fit very, very nicely into the security products that we were offering. And as I grew up with that particular product and I was installing it a lot myself, about 18 months ago, I suddenly thought to myself, do you know what? I think I could probably do this particular job for myself. So I took the plunge and decided to leave the stability of a regular income and set up my own business, which is MT Property Protection Services. Just very interestingly, the MT being obviously the Mark Tapper also sounds like empty, which is empty, empty buildings, which is really where it came from. So the security product that I have and that I sort of install for people is predominantly aimed at property managers and construction companies. Anyone really that has a reason to protect their property from intrusion, damage, which is quite rife these days. The way the product works is that we install wireless detectors that are connected ultimately through a panel to a monitoring center, which in itself is unique because products like CCTV that are traditional, it's quite an expensive job to try and wire and to actually connect them all up to a monitoring station. So with the product that I have, you fit these detectors either inside the building or outside a building, which is the one that you're trying to protect. It can be connected to scaffolding on a construction site. And the idea being that anybody who moves or breaks into that area or into an area where they shouldn't be, an image from that detector is sent straight back through to a monitoring company, and then they can determine whether it's a false alarm or not. Obviously, if it's an animal, they can ignore. But if it's a human being in an area where they shouldn't be, they can then follow a specific instruction, which could be to call a security company for response. So people are having, it's a kind of, I suppose, it's a situation where you're getting peace of mind that your property, whether it be construction, whether it be a building, is actually being looked after, and someone is going to respond to that if someone gets in and starts causing damage.
I think one thing interesting we talked about before we went on air was that you'd even have to have power to the site.
Correct. The site itself can be remote as you like. It doesn't have to have any power whatsoever because the units are self-powering. And there's no wiring required either. They're completely radio linked to each other. The only thing that happens is in the main panel there's a SIM card, which just requires obviously the ability to get a signal out. But because you've got 98% coverage in the UK now, the chances of finding an area where you can't get a signal is pretty remote. But you can also have add-ons to booster aerials and things.
Cool. And and we were talking about earlier that it's great for protecting high value. Could be not even just the property itself. Could be the contents inside the property, or sensitive products, and all sorts of things.
Could be anything at all. I mean, you take rural crime for instance. That's quite high. Farmers will have barns or outhouses that contain very expensive equipment. They may not have any kind of security on those barns whatsoever. So to fit one of these detectors inside the barn or outside will just tell us or tell the owner whether or not someone's trying to get in or someone has gone in. And in terms of costs, they're very, very inexpensive to actually fit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it becomes economical.
Choked on inexpensive because you wanted to be more expensive, but yeah. Anyway, just messing with you.
Yeah.
They're of high value. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, compared to some of the equipment that you can possibly have installed,
Yes.
they're nowhere near.
And
the
they're
same sort of cost.
and they're also, I know this is the case as well. They're as temporary or as long as you need them to be as well. So
Yes. I have. I mean, I've got a site at the moment where I've had a system on site for nearly 2 years.
Yep.
I do it on a rental basis normally.
Yep.
You can buy the equipment, but it's generally designed to go onto a site that's going to be temporary. So, like a building site, 2-year build,
Yep.
6-month build, makes no difference. You're protecting that site for the length of time of that contract.
I'm also thinking like, you're doing festivals or anything like this where people have brought property other, because sometimes you'll have like for example the shows. So you got your different county shows. There'll be equipment and people on site for usually up to 2 weeks or longer. Everybody thinks about, it's the 3-day show. Well, no, it's the week before setting up. It's the show itself, and then it's the tear down. It's everything. So it's things around that would be perfect for it.
I've had quite a few clients say to me, we've got this site and within 2 or 3 months it's going to be sold, but I'd like to protect it.
Yep.
So I put some equipment in, and then you suddenly find that the sale falls through or something delays it, and then that 2 months suddenly becomes 6 months, and then it's 8 months and so on and so forth. And there's no real length of time that product can stay in. It's just a matter of going back, changing the batteries, and just making sure that the system's configured after a certain period of time.
And I find it fascinating. It's simplistic in principle.
It definitely is,
but it's amazing that it's I'd never heard of it before till I met you. And the other thing is I'm whether it actually helps a lot with cost for insurance for companies. I would imagine it can at least be two things. I'm sure it should be acceptable for, it's the same thing like having security or anything else.
Yep.
Better for insurance. But number two, it's just that recovery of your goods and all those things that you got that extra layers.
Well, actually, that's a good point, because insurance companies do tend to sort of ask people to have, what kind of security do you have? Exactly. But if you've got a building where you've turned all the power off because you just don't want electric, or you don't want the fire system, whatever, because it's costing, you turn off the intruder alarm system, you turn off the fire system as well. So by these systems going in, you're still protecting the property. And the insurance company, therefore, becomes quite pleased about that.
Absolutely.
Because you've at least got some form of security on site. Whereas if you turn off the power, that's your security system gone.
So your main people that we'll be looking for through the network be construction, property investment people.
Yep. I mean, it kind of applies to anybody. I mean, scaffolding companies, farmers, rural people, anyone who's potentially got buildings where they feel that they're being targeted or they're having issues. This system is designed really to help.
I'll tell Shane from Corker Media, because he has like this building with all his gold bars in it, So
that's exactly it. Yeah.
He's behind the camera laughing now.
But that's right. I mean, it like I say, it's designed for just about anybody. I mean, certainly this is the reason why I come to your partnership meetings. Predominantly, when I started the business out on my own, I had to sort of use a network of people that I'd already built up with from my previous life. But coming to your partnership, I was able to target, the property and construction meetings, because I knew that the people that attended those meetings would probably be, or at least experience some sort of issues at some point, or maybe in the future. And if they don't know anyone, if they have a problem, maybe they know someone who does.
Have you worked with any estate agents at all?
No, not really.
But that would be a good one, because if they've got because once again it would be if it's an estate for sale.
Yeah.
I would think that'd be a very good add-on for them, for their people that are selling, because I mean obviously as soon as you've left a property vacated, the house is worth, who knows, $750,000, whatever.
Yeah.
Then
and if it goes through probate, etc., then it could be held up for months.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I say, anybody that is responsible for property, that is concerned about protecting it, because you don't have traditional security, having turned off the electricity, as an example, or construction sites, scaffolding companies. I've fitted quite a few systems to the scaffolding around a building, because something like a bank or building society, if they're going to have a new roof put on, new windows, one of the insurance requirements from that particular building society will be that the scaffolding company has to have their scaffolding protected from someone trying to break into the building society or bank.
Absolutely, because they'll use that to get in. And
Yeah, so I can work with, and I have worked with scaffolding companies, construction companies, and basically anyone who has property that needs protecting.
Yeah, well, I think it's fascinating. I love it. So so if you want to learn more about it, this video will have all the links to get a hold of Mark and how to get some quotes from him, and also just to sit and have a practical one-to-one.
Yeah.
Just to look at, because you might have concerns, especially just think, when you're talking about agricultural, that could, because a lot of times in that they'll different times of the year. They'll have different value of property on board. Maybe they only need Mark for 3 months a year, or
Totally.
6 months a year,
Yeah,
whatever.
absolutely. Yeah.
It's good to know that you have to spend tens of thousands of pounds to have this security system that you don't use all the time.
That's exactly correct. That's what does tend to happen sometimes. A construction company, for instance, will have a CCTV all wired, and it's a lovely system, and they're great for what they do. But when the site comes to an end, or if they start building walls and the camera's there and then the wall's in the way, someone's got to come back and move it. But if it's wired, not much you can do. Whereas with this system, it's just a matter of moving the system to another part, because there's no wires involved.
Yeah.
So it's very, very simple.
Cool. Well, we better wrap it up. Thanks so much for joining us out here today, and
Thank you, Bob.
have a good word with the guys at Corker, because they'll be able to take care of any of your video needs that you may have in the future. But and thanks for being a part of the network.
Thank you, and thank you to your partnership for giving me the opportunity to sit with you today.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much. Get a hold of Mark. Find out some more.
Thank you.
See you again. Take care.